I almost laughed. "You could have helped me," I whispered, careful not to wake little Mara. She mumbled in her sleep, her head tucked into my chest, with putting our daughter to bed. He chuckled, a sour edge to his tone. "Yeah, I'm good, dude." "Dude? Since when did my husband say dude?" "You promised." I spoke through my teeth this time, unable to stop myself. "You said you would let me sleep and take care of everything." I had to swallow sobs, my chest heaving. When I woke up, she was laughing, Milo, and you were nowhere to be seen. You were gone again. I twisted to find him standing over the sink, his back to me. My husband was eerily still. He held a cup as if to fill it, but he wasn't filling it. He was just standing there, letting water pool off of it. The stream was running quickly overflowing, and he wasn't turning it off. "Milo," my voice cracked despite myself. "There's something wrong with you. You're not helping with Mara. You leave everything to me. Her diapers, her bedtime, everything you promised the day I told you I was pregnant. You promised you'd be there for her. Milo, you called her the best thing that ever happened to you, and now you can't even look at her." He didn't move, didn't deny it. His arms tensed, fingers curling into fists. The faucet began to overflow, suds soaking the floor. I couldn't hold back a sob. Everything spilled out, words tumbling over one another, staining my tongue, dripping down my chin. "You're disappearing at night, and you're not even sleeping with me anymore. Milo, you won't even look me in the eyes." I swallowed another sob, choking on the question before it could reveal itself, a snake's head protruding through my lips. "Are you seeing someone?" He stayed silent for a long moment, and in that moment I realized, my chest aching, that I was losing him. Then he turned. His eyes were hollow, and a wide, fake smile stretched across his face. "Darling," he said, his tone sardonic and splendid, like he didn't mean that word, like he never meant it, like it was all a game to him. Milo used to say darling like he meant it, like he loved me. It was never an attempt to win me back or get his way. He said darling when he was tracing my torso in bed or making me morning coffee when I was sleep deprived. The imposter wearing my husband's face leaned against the sink, arms folded, one eyebrow cocked. To my surprise, he smiled, but it wasn't the smile I fell in love with. I had no idea who the F I married, but it wasn't Milo Sinclair. "Would you like to play 7 minutes in heaven?" Scooping up our baby, I stumbled to my feet. "You're kidding," I said, nursing Mara against my chest. I wanted to shout at him. I wanted to scream at him. He'd been body snatched, clearly. Milo Sinclair wasn't this bumbling effing idiot who couldn't even change a diaper. "Our marriage is falling apart," I gritted through a hysterical laugh. Maybe I was losing my mind. Laughing felt better. It felt like lukewarm water trickling across my bare skin. I'm actually starting to ask myself why I married you in the first place. My chest was heaving, my throat bit Instead of speaking, she went silent, her gaze wavering behind my husband. Milo leaned forward, his eyes wide. It's like... Karina blinked. Huh? She giggled, waving her claws. Sorry, Karina shook her head, pushing waves of dark curls from her face. I apologize, I think I've had too much wine. No, you were talking about your college days. Milo pushed, still perched on the edge of the chair arm. Tell us more. He leaned back, arms folded. You're married. Congratulations. His smile was as fake as his attitude. So, when were you married? What date did you guys tie the knot? Milo, I managed through my teeth. I sent him another warning look and he just shot me thumbs up. No, I like this game. Karina straightened up, balancing her glass between her knees. It was April 2nd, 2016. She smiled brightly at me. In a gorgeous ceremony in Japan. We were married under the cherry blossom trees in Kyoto and had our honeymoon climbing Mount Fuji. And, I smiled, reaching out to grasp her hand. That's beautiful, Karina. I shot Milo a glare. Isn't it, babe? Milo shrugged. She's not finished. Honey, Simon laughed nervously, but I detected a hint of confusion in his tone. We were married in Bali. He spoke confidently. Remember, we swam with the dolphins in crystal blue water, and you got food poisoning from bad shellfish. The wedding was outside on this beach with perfect white sand, and you kept complaining about the grains in your shoes. Karina's expression twisted for a moment, like she was going to protest, before her lips broke out into a grin. Oh yeah, she laughed. Yes, it was Bali, not Japan. Oh my gosh, I'm like so drunk, I can't even remember when I was married. She grinned at me. Aren't I like the funniest drunk? Milo laughed along with her. Hilarious, he said, and continued to push. I gave into temptation and threw one of Mara's socks at his face, but he was belly faced. Milo kept going. Okay, so, Karina, since you're so effing hilarious, what about your little bundle of joy? Milo said, his tone darkening. When was he born? Little Holden, you know, your son. Milo, stop, I told him. I stood up, plunking my glass down on the coffee table. That's enough. Why? I'm just asking them basic questions that literally every couple should know. He turned to our friends. Go on. If you're so in love, you should know when your baby was born. March 8th, Karina said, at the same time as Simon piped up with June 3rd. The two of them looked momentarily horrified before Karina burst into tears. Milo's lips pricked into a smirk. How about the first time you slept together? I bet that was a memorable night. That's highly inappropriate, I started to say. On her parents' sofa, Simon said. It was at a hotel, Karina shot back. Milo didn't even have to continue. Karina stood up, her legs wobbling, tears streaming down her cheeks. What was the name of the song we danced to at our wedding? She demanded. Simon smiled. Easy, the power of love. Karina stalked over to him in 3 unsteady steps, slapping him across the face. You a-hole, it was Kate Bush, my mom's favorite song. Milo nodded, enjoying the chaos. So, in conclusion, you two can't remember your wedding day or the day your child was born. He mockingly shrugged. I don't know about you guys, he said, his tone dripping with sarcasm, but I'd say that's a pretty still giggling Mara from her playpen and cleared up empty glasses. Milo didn't move or speak, just sitting there still perched on the chair arm, almost triumphant. "What is wrong with you?" I finally exploded on him, nursing Mara against my chest. "Did you think that was some joke? What was it? Mind games on our friends? What can I even say, Milo? Mental health? Should I say my husband has been effing stalked husband will be executed. I stepped back inside our house and did what I always did. I made coffee, one for me and one for Milo. I cooked dinner, spaghetti and meatballs. Our silverware was plastic, I noticed as I dug into my spaghetti. Our glasses and plates were all plastic. So, who are you? I asked the ceiling, cutting into my spaghetti. My stomach twisted. I was already cutting it up for my daughter, who wasn't real. Why can't I recognize your voice? No response. I picked up my plastic knife and stabbed it into my wrist. What would you do if I sliced open my arms? That's not possible with a plastic knife, Ghana, the voice mused. I laughed. Then I slammed my head against the table until I was bleeding, until my head ached, but at least I wasn't thinking about Mara. The front door opened and shut, and reality slammed into me at the sound of a baby's wails. Honey, Milo's voice swam from the hallway in a sing-song. I dived to my feet. I'm home. Milo. I ran, stumbling over myself, slamming straight into my husband standing on the threshold. Another grotesque plastic doll was nestled in his arms, but his eyes were distant, empty. He held the doll close to his chest, smiling broadly. Milo looked up at me and whispered, "Isn't she beautiful?" Behind him, a tiny red light on the door blinked at me. Milo laughed, gently booping the doll on the nose and rocking her against his chest. "She's our little Mara." He smiled up at me, and I could see blood vessels burst in his eyes, burn marks on his left temple. "She has your eyes, Ghana." He gently prodded the doll's plastic cheek. "Look." "Ghana Sinclair." The voice spoke up when Milo carried the doll into the kitchen for feeding time. I watched him robotically fill up the bottle, settling Mara into her chair. I felt dizzy as I walked over to him and tried to shake him, but his eyes were glassy, unseeing. It wasn't my Milo. "You have a choice," the voice said. "You can either comply with the rules and restart the simulation from the beginning, or you and your husband will be executed immediately." Milo began to sing softly.